This is IsAware, powered by Intersoft Associates. IsAware is your connection to exploring the systems and software that power businesses like yours with expert insight, experience, and advice.
Welcome back to IsAware. I am Chris Bentliff, and I'm here as always with Abe Unger and Hy Goldstoff of Intersoft Associates. And guys, today I wanted to talk about FoxPro kind of specifically, or Visual FoxPro, but more generally, what do we do when something that we've been using, a database or programming language that has been important to how we run our business, reaches an end of life, and suddenly that's going to become obsolete? Do I just find a way to manage it? Do I sort of fix in place constantly? Or how do I handle a migration? Is that complicated? What do I migrate to? Can you help me understand that? So let's talk a little bit, Hy, just about FoxPro specifically. When did it reach its end of life? How has it affected customers? And what are some, thoughts or insights you have on that whole idea of migrating after an end of life?
Well, I think FoxPro's end of life was about 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. So companies are still running on it. It's like Windows XP. It won't go away.
Right. FoxPro was a great system. I mean, it certainly was ahead of its time. When it came out, it provided really, really great capabilities, and it was lightning fast. It was built using the DBase file structure, and it far outperformed DBase, and it lives. Maybe in a nursing home right now, but it lives while DBase is gone. I mean, there's another variant called RBase, which is some people work at. But anyway. The main issue with a system like that, you develop something for yourself because you thought you had unique requirements, but it's getting harder and harder to find people to maintain it. They're becoming fewer people are learning FoxPro, and which makes the number of people that can help you scarce, and kind of raises the prices and diminishes the professional, the professionalism of those people, because they're not up to date and they're working on FoxPro. There are always exceptions, but they're probably not that good at what they do in terms of solving problems. They can perhaps fix a leak in a pipe, but they can't put in a whole new bathroom. And there are times when you're using something old, you really need something new, because there's so much that you can do for your organization that isn't available to you, and you may not even know about. You think you're doing fine, chugging along on what you have, but there are a lot of opportunities through technology, and not that expensively, to impact the bottom line and impact the top line. Where you can provide, your bottom line can certainly increase because of higher productivity, and people can do more high value work that will, increase your bottom line, increase your EBITDA. And if you're looking to exit, give you a much greater payout.
Abe, I think that we raised some interesting points here with Hy, and he's talking about some things that we've talked about before, is in terms of the innovation that's available to you when you start to think about doing something new and taking on something new. Why are people, if we're still having a conversation about a platform that sunsetted 15 years ago, why are people so slow to take a step? What is the trepidation or the fear there? And what advice would you give them to stop with the slow sort of adoption of these new ideas and technologies?
Yes, sure. The advice is call us. People are hesitant because they have a system that works. We're not talking about a system that doesn't work. If it didn't work, there would be all kinds of other problems. But this is a system that actually works, but you're dealing with, you may not even have problems where you can't get data that you need. You have everything that you need, but you are working on a platform that is going to go away, or you're going to get to a point where it's not going to run on newer OSs, and you're going to deal with security issues and all kinds of other problems because of lack of patching. So at some point, it will end. Like it or not, it will end. The DOS programs of the day, they don't work anymore. You're done. these things will happen. So you definitely need to talk about it. So people are hesitant because things are working. Status quo is easy to continue, but you really do have to talk to someone about options. And what can you do to move this? And how can you move this to hardware that will continue and get patched and get updated? Otherwise, you're going to be left out in the cold. You know, I have
And the code.
Yeah, left out in the code
exactly.
too. That's the title of this podcast. Boom, left out in the code.
Look, I have someone we're working with who they have an old laptop. It's not connected to the internet. It's running XP. It's running a program on it. It works great. But, you know, just imagine every time this person goes on vacation, they're taking that laptop with them. It's an old, ancient, heavy laptop because that's got the code on it. That's got the program, and you can't put it on anything else. So it's got to a point where you've got no choice. You really have to update that. And, you know, we're discussing, you know, options in terms of, you know, how to do that and how to move that data. It's not FoxPro necessarily, but it is an old Access version 2 program. So talk about, you know, where we're up to in Access nowadays. You can't even move that to the current version of Access directly. You got to go in phases. So people are hesitant, but you got to do it. You got to talk to someone. You got to talk to someone with experience, which would be us, in terms of how to move these programs and how to work with them, because there can be a lot of pain points, especially if you don't do it right or you don't know what to look for.
Hi, let's talk about some of that experience. What are some of the illustrations or examples that you can share that help connect us to this in the practical sense?
Well, let me give you one thing that, you know, just one other, you know, problem with using, you know, software that's old. There are so many services available today, you know, technology related services in terms of connecting to other pieces of software, leveraging email and electronic communications. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it via bolt-on. You can do it via something else, but it becomes really, really clumsy. And it becomes, you know, inefficient and costly, you know, because people, you know, especially in the U.S. aren't expensive, you know, are expensive, relatively speaking. And you want those expensive people to do, like I said before, more high valued work. You don't want them to go around and being computer operators. So, you know, and then one of our philosophies is that, you know, we don't want our users to be computer operators. We want them to use the computer to help them do their job better. So, I mean, that's, you know, one of the other problems. There's so many other things available to you which can improve productivity, improve the bottom line that may not be available to you. And again, you know, it's hard to find someone that can actually go in there and do stuff, because very many of these people may be in FoxPro, but many of them don't even have would probably not have the source code. Which is certainly an issue. Anyway, our longest standing client, we actually wrote a system for him back in 1992, I believe.
Wow.
That I was just bar mitzvah back then, and in DOS, and it was revolutionary for them. It was great, and we used a back end for the database end. And at one point that back end, you know, became end of life. I mean, it wasn't supported any longer by the operating system. We couldn't get it to work in that. And they were lucky because, you know, we were still working with them, God knows how many years later, but we talked to them about, you know, rebuilding it in a current technology. And it's been revolutionary for them. There's so much more that they can do. There's so much more they can do to service their clients now that it was rebuilt that could never have been done before. And, you know, that was, you know, a huge success, you know, and it's interesting. The CEO of the company said, you know, that old software doesn't owe us any more money. So, you know, let's rebuild. And he's sad that he didn't do it earlier, because we were able to do so much more for him, you know. And for the longest time, I didn't even try to upgrade him because it was running fine, you know, and there was no reason to. But as we got further and further down the road, you know, we spoke, and they ultimately thought that is the best for them, and you know, and it's been a godsend to them.
You know, this really speaks to the value of the experience, particularly at Intersoft Associates, but any kind of developer person you're going to trust with this kind of stuff, you're going back to pre-internet, long before. And when you can draw from a wealth of experiences of, well, we've seen platforms that reach end of life. We've held on for a while because they keep working. We know the ins and outs of that. We know the struggles that can lead into that. We even kind of know when it's time to make that switch, and we can advise you on that. I just think that's invaluable, to be able to have that kind of consultative perspective, rather than just, as we've talked about before, I know how to push buttons, and so therefore I can, migrate you from here to there. There's so many intricacies and thoughts about the business and the business case and the people being impacted and things like this that I imagine your experience is able to really bring a comprehensive perspective to.
Right. I mean, when you start migrating from an older technology, you leverage a lot of what is there. You just, to some degree, put newer clothes on it, so that it can do so much more, so it can be so much attractive to your business. So, I mean, it's and the important thing is to come speak to somebody. Just because you're using an older technology, there may not be a good business reason, from like the way we look at things. And we want to make sure that there's a benefit to the client and not just get them to spend money, which is why it took us, a few years before we even brought this up to that, our oldest client. There was no compelling reason to switch to upgrade from what they were doing. But there came a point where there was a compelling reason. And certainly if I was just out, if we were out, or anybody else like us was out just to get the revenue, we would have done it earlier on. But if you're using FoxPro or Visual FoxPro, it may be the right solution still. But there are times where, by looking at it and, having some sort of a vision, you can see what can come from that, what the benefits can be, how it can, enhance an organization. And then it's up to management to make that call. Is it worth the expense? Are the benefits there? Is there a business case to be made, internally? And, if we don't think there's a business case to be made, we don't think there's any risk, we'll tell them. I mean, our goal is to make sure that, that they're doing the right thing. And if it involves an engagement with us, that's great, but that's never the goal.
I love that perspective of the CEO that said this thing doesn't owe us any more money, meaning it's already done its job. We benefited from it for a long, long time. And I imagine, Abe, that as we talked about, that's part of the trepidation. This thing has been doing great for us. Why move over? Are there any risks? And what are some of those risks in making a migration? As Hai said, it's not like you're going to reinvent the wheel. You're going to take the best stuff and you're going to bring it into newer platforms and you're going to make more of it. But what are some of the things that, I don't know, maybe I'm afraid of that I don't need to be, or maybe there's some things I should keep in mind, and it's why the expert really needs to be behind the controls of this thing?
Yes, there are definitely risks, because ultimately, for the most part, these are going to be rewrites. You're going to take some pieces, you're going to take some logic, but you're going to be writing it in a newer technology. So you're moving from an older technology into some newer technology, so there are risks. There are requirements. You really have to understand, again, the business, what it is that the software is doing, not how, but what. What is it doing? What is it supposed to do? What are the ins and outs? What are the reports supposed to look like? And then there'll be a testing phase. Once those pieces have been written, whether it's each module, each section, however that's broken down, and you test it. You look at the old way and the new way. What does the old software do? What does it produce? What does the new software do? Does it look the same? Is it the same? Are the numbers the same? Do they match? So you go through that process. And again, someone with experience understands how to do that, how to help the business do that process. So it's not just a coder who's going to go in there and make some changes and push it out to a business. They're involved. They want to make sure that there's a success. So they're going to be involved in that every step of the way. The data, the business, the logic, everything, the ins, the outs, the reports, other feeds from other systems, whatever else it may be. And that's just to get the existing functionality to work in the new world. So you have to be involved, and that's part of the trepidation. That's part of what people are worried about. Oh, there's so much work to be done. But the reality is you have an old system to compare to. So you look at it one way, you look at it the new way. And as long as things are matching and things are flowing correctly, then you're good. But you need someone on the coding end of that who's involved, who understands the process to help.
And the one thing that you have when you're doing this is you can kind of think of your system, the existing system, the incumbent system, as a diamond in the rough, because it's helping to run a business. And all you need to do is what else can we add to it to make it, that much better? And then, with an investment in time and resources, you can get a really beautiful diamond that becomes worth so much more and helps your business so much more. But what you have works, and that's the core. And using proper practices and proper processes, you can, we tend to, minimize the risk to ensure that it's going to work the way, everybody thinks it'll work. Everybody needs it to work, and involving all levels of the organization into the solution.
Guys, this has been a great conversation, and I want to come back to this in future episodes about migrations and different platforms and end of life and the things that, impact the businesses that are trying to grow and evolve as the technologies grow and evolve. Thanks for your insights and expertise today. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for IsAware, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. IsAware is powered by Intersoft Associates, who believes the more you know about your IT, the better. Visit us at intersoftassociates.com and schedule your free consultation to talk about how custom software can help your business.